Lace 'em up, let's start the show. We're digging in with Trip. 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 We're digging in with Trip today, yeah.
Time has come to award the shovel. I'll turn it around in a second for those watching on YouTube for the Hurricanes February Dig-In Player of the Month. As is the case with this terrific hockey team, there have been a variety of monthly candidates. When all is said and done, this guy's been a candidate several other months, and he will earn his first shovel, Nino Niederreiter. The type of goal-scoring prowess he's had, particularly at even strength, the line that has been Carolina's most consistent 200-foot line that sets the tone on so many fronts. Nino on the left side with Jordan Staal and Jesper Fast, the pace that he's playing with, no doubt about it. And what a competitive month that he had. I think about in February, a game in Ottawa where the Hurricanes lost the game before they go in and beat Boston the next game. And Nino's competitive nature just popped through the screen, off the page, off the ice. Nino Niederreiter, very deserving of being honored with the Dig-In Shovel, the Canes Dig-In Player for February, presented by Casual Elegance Designs, bringing your own personal interior spaces to life. Boy, do they do a fabulous job. Do they ever dig in? The great Lori Moscato, longtime supporter of digging in. Casual Elegance Designs, NC.com. Thank you to them. A reminder to check out our merchandise line. I'm wearing one of our most comfortable hoodies. Nino Niederreiter might be wearing one too. Digintrip.com. Rate and review our show on all audio platforms as well as YouTube. Before we dig in with Nino, I'm not going to tell him this, but he's my angling friend, and he has a tendency on TV interviews to say quite a bit the phrase, at the end of the day. So I'm not going to tell him, and on our next angling excursion, because we love fishing together, I'm going to put a dinner on the line, Nino doesn't know, in this 10 to 15 minute hot stove. I'm going to say that Nino is going to say at the end of the day at least 3 times. So if he's 3 or more, he doesn't know this, but dinner's going to be on him. Actually, I paid for dinner with his dad and his dad's buddy the last fishing excursion in Morehead City. If he says at the end of the day any less than 3 times, dinner's on me. At least I'll get the miles. So keep that in mind as we now dig in with Nino, El Nino, my compadre, and present. He's very deserving of the February shovel. Nino, my compadre, you've earned it. There it is.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
How does it feel?
Feels good.
Yeah.
Very excited about it. I've seen it, you hand them out quite a few times, so I'm excited to have it finally.
Well, you've earned that shovel.
Thank you.
My angling compadre. Well, let's start with how you define digging in, because you're certainly doing it on a regular basis right now.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm trying to come to work every single day and try my best as I can. And obviously, I know it's a big year as well, it's a contract year and everything. So it's daily process coming into the rink and do the best I can to be successful.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get right to that, because players, a veteran like yourself, you'd like to block out the fact that it's a contract year. But one of the reasons that, quite honestly, you've been a candidate for the shovel several months is you began this year playing in a bit of a different role. Warren Foegele gets traded to Edmonton, and he had played on the left side of Jordan Staal. You fit in beautifully with Jordan, with Jesper Fast, as a terrific line. I think the line that drives the bus on a variety of fronts. But players in a contract situation, you can't help but think about numbers. It required a buy-in on your part, in my opinion, an unselfish nature and a trust that you would be rewarded offensively, aside from your priceless defensive contribution. Can you talk about that? Because that's been a big, admirable factor for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you mentioned right at the beginning, obviously the whole expansion draft in Seattle and wasn't protected, so I was obviously nervous. I was okay, maybe they have a different role for me coming up next year. And like you mentioned, now I'm playing with Staal and Fast, and I knew to be able to stay here, I gotta change my game a little bit, make sure I'm very good defensively, and when I have the chance to be in the offense and try and do my things, and sometimes I play with Aho, sometimes I play with Troch, and now with Stahl. So whatever I fit in, I gotta do my best to stay here and play the best hockey I can play. And obviously there was some changing into my game coming into this year, and like obviously contract situation, everything. You think whoever you play, the opponent could be your next team eventually, and I think that's some sort of motivation you have as well. And by the end of the day, you want to stay here as long as possible. But at the end of the day, I mean, every single game somebody's watching, and you want to perform the best you can.
I'm going to stop you. We're going to keep going, but I didn't let you know, but right before we taped this on my intro and talking about why you're in the shovel, I talked about our fishing excursions, and I made a bet that I wasn't going to tell you about, that if you said at the end of the day any more than 3 times, you owed me dinner the next time we go to Moorhead City or fishing. And you've just said it 3 times, so guess what? Dinner's on you, pal, at the end of the day. I've always trusted you defensively. How do you think? You mentioned that adjustment. How do you think you've gotten better defensively?
I think it's just sharpened up my game a little bit. I mean, like I said, knowing how good Stahl and Fasty is defensively, and playing against the top or second top line on the other team, you always got to be even more aware. I mean, it's a little bit easier if you have to play against third line, or so it's a little, you can cheat a little bit more, I would say. But if you play against McKinnon or Carey yesterday, I mean, you got to make sure you're on top of your game at all times as soon as you step on the ice.
You know, I'm thinking about a beautiful power play goal you scored right at this end. As we taped this, you beat Colorado last Sunday. Another really impressive thing, the last 2 years, the majority of your goals, and they've been significant, have been at even strength. You know, it's tough to score at even strength in the regular season, certainly in the postseason. Why do you think you've had success in finding the back of the net at 5-on-5?
I think I think the biggest part is that I don't get as much power play time as I would like to. I mean, we have an elite first power play unit, which is tough to get on, and for me to be able to pursue it, I have to do it 5-on-5. So I made sure that, like, whenever I have a chance to shoot the puck, I will shoot the puck, and trying to go to the dirty areas right in front of the net, and stuff from home when I have a chance to. And I think that's where my bread and butter is, in front of the net.
The other thing I think about, you came close to scoring, I think, at this end against the Avalanche, who you had a Game 7 overtime winner against. I actually had the pleasure of calling that series for NBC as a member of the Minnesota Wild. You had that overtime winner in Game 7. Changing your shooting angle at top speed, and you work on it all the time. You know, nobody did that better, speaking of the Avalanche, than Joe Sakic. For any young hockey player, boy or girl, can you talk about that? Because your shot just isn't heavy. You oftentimes just subtly change the point of release.
I think the biggest thing is, like, the defensemen are so good with the sticks these days, and the goalies are fantastic in tracking the puck, and you want to make sure you get the puck towards the net, so you got to find a way to open up the defenseman's legs, or even like changing the angle. So even yesterday, Darcy Kemper, he kind of got confused a little bit with a fake clapper, go to your forehand and take the shot, and like just as like split second, which maybe gets him off his game a little bit and has a hard time tracking the puck.
How much homework do you do? Because I mean, you scored a goal in December in Edmonton. I'm trying to remember if it was Koskinen or who it was, and you told me that you had noticed, and you had another one where a goaltender was maybe leaving the short side. So thinking about an opposing goaltender, Philly's in here tomorrow. Let's say it's Carter Hart. How much thought do you think about who the goalie's going to be and what tendencies he might have before the game?
Usually what I do is I look most of the time like how players score the goals. In general, I mean, I watch the highlights almost every single night from almost all the goals they score, and you just see like short sides, like goalies starting to cheat as well. I mean, there's so many great players out there making great passes, going even backdoor, whatever. So the goalies have to cheat at some point as well. And goalies like Hart, and like they're terrific goaltenders. So you gotta find a way to score goals. And even the one goal I had a chance to score from behind the net, like, and goalies always rushing right, going back into the net, so throw him in his feet. There's like little things like that you watch on highlights, and that makes you think, okay, hey, like they're making mistakes as well, and you just gotta find them if they're cheating or not.
Interesting. Okay, now this is probably the most exciting development for me as your analyst in your game, is the pace that you're playing with, which I think you've had success in the playoffs, but I think that's going to translate really well for you in the postseason when the speed ramps up. Is that a mental thing that you're, first of all, do you agree that you're playing with more pace? And if so, is that a mental thing? Is it anything physical you worked on, a combination of both?
I think the biggest thing is like I'm a fairly heavier guy, I guess, so I gotta always work on my pace. And this summer I did a lot of power skating and worked on my skating stride a little bit to get faster and lose a couple lbs to just get the pace I need to be able to play this game. And come in postseason, that's the exciting time of the year, and I think that extra jump just helps you in all kind of areas.
Well, since you lost dinner to me, you haven't said at the end of the day once.
I try my best not to use it.
Well, you already lost dinner. You might as well get your money's worth now. In the month that you were in the shovel, I thought a real turning point. You played the Florida Panthers. You know, you had lost to Florida twice. You just about won the game, and you lost in overtime. And Florida was an impressive opponent. Then you play Nashville, your good friend and fellow countryman, Roman Josi, rugged game. You beat him. You go into Pittsburgh, different type of game, elite team, beat him. First of 2 times you've beaten him. And I thought that was a stretch where, at least for me, I was really going to figure out individually and collectively what this team is all about. And it was all good. How did you view that stretch, and what did you learn about the group?
That we faced adversity quite some time. I mean, like you mentioned, the game against the Panthers, we were up 2-1, and then we ended up losing the game within a minute left in the game, and that kind of was a little bit of a kick in the balls. And I feel like after that, we knew we have to find a way to win these hockey games, and then we found a way to, as a majority of a group, to like, hey, we've gotten older, we got to learn from our mistakes. We can't just always giving up leads like that and like think it's okay to lose those games. And I feel like that's where we kind of came together as a group, and like knowing that like it can't always be pretty. Like even if we grind it out, we just got to find a way to win those hockey games. Even yesterday, we had a fantastic first period, didn't came as good in the second one, and then in the third we found a way to win that hockey game. And those are exactly the games we need to win, which in the past, in the first 2 years we got here, those are the moments we just always find a way to lose that game. And now I feel like everybody's getting older and like knowing how to, or figuring out how to win hockey games, and that's exactly what we've been doing.
You know, one thing, I'm talking about pace, impressively so. You know, in a game like last night against the Colorado Avalanche, 2 elite teams, and it was an elite game. Adrenaline, you know, you can see guys, like when you came to Carolina, you hit the ground running, playing on a line with Sebastian Aho and Justin Williams, a veteran like you and a supreme veteran, Justin Williams. When things would ramp up, he would almost, and you and Jordan Stahl and Jesper Fast looked like this to me last night. You'd, even with all that adrenaline, you'd slow it down at the right times in your head. And I'm still watching because they're so young, a guy like Sebastian, a guy like Andrei Svechnikov, to utilize adrenaline, wanting to be the difference advantageously. I can see a difference between veterans and young guys wanting to be the difference and learning that. Does that make sense to you, and what's your reaction to it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a fairly younger guy, I would say, I mean, sometimes you take the adrenaline to a different type of situation. Like yesterday, like you mentioned, like you want to do the difference every single shift instead of like just waiting. It's gonna come. You're gonna make the difference eventually, but you don't have to do it every single shift. So it's like that part where you, like you mentioned, like when I just freshly get in the league, you feel like you have to do every single shift. You have to make the difference, which you probably want to, but like at the same time, you know you can't. So you just gotta stay with it, and when the time is coming, that's where you're gonna make it. I think that's something, just a learning process, I would say.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, the name Nino in Switzerland, is this a popular name?
No, not at all. I don't even know where my mom got it from. Well, actually, I do. Actually, my I guess when my mom was in the hospital giving birth, then there was the one guy who looked after her, whatever, and his name was Nino. I guess he was like his curly hairs, like big tall guy, and he was like, you know what, that's a nice name, and that's how I ended up with my name, actually.
You've always played well on Whaler nights. I mean, Nino, to me, we got fished out because of tropical storm conditions when we went with your dad and Francois, his buddy, in Moorhead City. But Nino just screams, you know what, I want to swim with the whales. Well, there's D'Angelo, a former shovel winner.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Nino, a very angling name.
Yeah.
So if we had been able to fish, we go out to Moorhead City with your dad, what a wonderful man, and Francois, his buddy. And we get to the boat, you and I mean, we knew that, we wanted to overrule the captain, but the captain said we couldn't go out in tropical storm conditions.
So probably was a smart decision.
Yeah, it was a smart decision. We did have a nice dinner on me. Next one will be on you at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
If you could catch any fish as an angler, what would it be?
I think a big tuna would be.
Bluefin?
Bluefin tuna would be fantastic.
Yeah. Would we let it go right to Japan, or would we consume all of that beautiful, high-intensity tuna with the right fat content?
I think we got to ship it right to Japan so I can buy you dinner. Otherwise, I won't be able to buy you dinner.
What makes you most proud of the growth in Swiss hockey?
I feel like Swiss hockey came a long way. And we were always, known as the kind of the Swiss cheese, and they're always around, but they not good enough. And now we have some absolute elite players in the league with Romagnosi, Timo Meier, Hischier, and Fiala. And I mean, those are some good signs where Swiss hockey did a good job in the past few years of developing some good players.
No question. Okay, finally, before I let you go, what's this deal as close as we become? Everybody calls each other brothers in this day and age, you know. Well, you and I really are. Talking about digging in, what was the deal where you were on the side of a wing as the plane was airborne? What was that? I mean, that's digging in the clouds. What the heck was that?
That was a Breitling event in Switzerland a few years ago, and they call it the fun event. You can skydive, you can wing walk, which you get strapped on the wing, and then you fly and then do some loops or do just some acrobatic stuff, and that was just digging in the air, I guess I would say.
No question about it. By the way, he's down at the other end right now, but he was the November dig-in player of the month. Tell me about this D'Angelo character.
He's a great guy, terrific player, and I'm very happy to have him on the team. He's obviously a great puck mover, and he's a special character.
What gives your team the best chance to be the last one standing?
I think our competition we have inside the group. I think everybody wants to compete every single day, and even for me, you want to be up and down the lineup. You want to do whatever you can to be the best player you can be, and I think that's what competition and care, I would say.
Nino, congratulations. At the end of the day, there was no other choice than you.
Thank you very much, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, love you.
Thank you, man.
We're digging in with Trip today, yeah. Today, yeah. Today, yeah. Today.